Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Bookmark Beth and I'm here for another tag video. The first question is, tell us your favorite and least favorite horror tropes. So I would have to say my least favorite trope in a horror story would be bringing in cops for anything. Because let's face it, a lot of authors and directors like to kill off cops in these types of stories. And it's so frustrating to me because these characters are the least developed characters in the entire story because they're only there for one purpose, to give you a sliver of hope that they're going to save such character, and they don't. They end up getting killed. And let's face it, we see a lot of cop deaths in stories like this, so they're utterly useless. They are completely useless to these stories. So unless you're going to give me a cop that is more invested in the story and serves more of a purpose than to simply show up and die, just do not include them in the story whatsoever. Please and thank you. My favorite trope is experiencing the mental anguish of characters as they're going through these stories. I love the psychological trope. I love being able to see how a character is developing mentally as they are enthralled into this environment, this horrific environment. Next question is, stay out of the basement. Is there a place or area that you find creepy to be in? So I don't really have a particular place that I kind of just try to avoid, but I am very particular when it comes to being inside of a house at night. I have to have the blinds closed. I have to have the curtains drawn. It freaks me out if I can't see outside because it's so dark, but I know that someone could easily walk up to my window and look inside and see what I'm doing. I hate that. I am forever scarred by the Michael Myers movies, and anyone that you ask that knows me finds this funny, and it's not funny to me. I think Michael Myers is the most believable horror character out there. Just the idea of someone escaping from a mental asylum and coming to stalk and try to murder you, that can happen, guys. That can really totally happen. And there are so many crazy people in the world. I just do not like being able to be stalked. I'm not going to give anyone the opportunity to stalk me. So if I'm in my house, everything's closed, you cannot see what I'm doing inside. The next question, say cheese and diet. Show us your favorite horror themed cover. It is called 13 Ghosts. It came out in 2001. Let me tell you, this movie scarred me for life. The cover just has a picture of a girl. I don't know if it's the ghost or one of the characters, but within that face, there are the photos of all of the 13 ghosts that are in the movie. This movie will haunt me for the rest of my days. I'm sure if I go back and watch it now, I'm probably gonna laugh at myself for being so scared, because that's how things work. Things that you watched 10 years ago, you go back and watch and you're like, that is not the definition of horror. But yeah, that is the movie that scarred me for life. The next question, Night of the Living Dummy. If you could bring to life any fictional character, who would it be? I would definitely bring back Ramsay Bolton from Game of Thrones, because the way that he died was gruesome, yes. He deserved that death, yes. But the amount of things that that guy did while he was alive warranted so many other deaths. So I would bring back Ramsay just to kill him again over and over and over. I hated that character. I'm so glad he's dead. And yeah, that's who I would bring back. The next question, the girl who cried monster. What is an urban legend that you secretly believe is true? I think the Russian sleep experiment is true, especially in Russia. Okay, so these Russian researchers, they take these fugitives from another country and they basically imprison them. And this happened in like the 1940s, but they kept these people awake for like 15 days to study them and their behaviors. And like one guy after so many days just starts to scream, and like the screaming is uncontrollable and he doesn't stop screaming, and it's like an entire day. And then another guy starts to like eat himself, and it's just, I mean, we need sleep. There is a reason why we were designed the way that we were. And I just couldn't imagine what we would do without sleep. We would become monsters. We really would. And for some reason, I think this story is true. The next question, the haunted mask. Favorite supernatural creature? I'm going to go with vampires. I love the trope of immortality. My favorite character would be Klaus from the Vampire Diaries. He's now in a show called The Originals. I love that guy. He's my favorite bad guy to love, and I don't know. I just love everything that comes along with being a vampire. The supernatural gifts that you have, the speed, the agility, the strength, and immortality in itself. Next question, The Werewolf of Fever Swamp. Favorite werewolf book or movie? I am going to go with New Moon by Stephanie Meyer. These books are underrated. I don't know why these aren't hyped as much as they are. This series is one of the series that just made me fall so much more in love with reading. I love these books. You cannot compare these books to the movies. So if you have not read these books, you do not have an opinion, okay? Last question. Welcome to Camp Nightmare. Tell us a spooky campfire story. So in one of my previous tags, I talked about these books that I used to carry around with me all the time. It's called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by some guy. I don't remember who the author is. I'm just going to read my favorite one. It's called High Beams. As the woman drove down a deserted highway, she noticed a lone pair of headlights quickly approaching her car from behind. When the car came closer, she noticed that it was going to overtake her. The car drew up beside her, but then the driver suddenly swerved back behind her car. She started getting nervous and kept an eye on the strange car in her rear view mirror. He pulled up dangerously close to her rear bumper and began flashing his high beams at her. The headlights dimmed for a moment, but then the high beams flashed again, and the car behind her surged forward. The car followed her very closely, and on tight curves or over hills, he would flash his high beams on and off. The frightened woman struggled to keep her eyes on the road and fought the urge to keep looking at the car behind her. Finally, she approached her exit, but the car continued to follow, flashing the high beams again and again. The terrified woman took out her mobile phone and dialed 911. When the operator answered, the woman screamed into the phone, "A car is following me. He keeps tailgating and blinking his lights at me." The woman gave her address, and in a few minutes, she saw the red and blue lights of a police car in the distance. She breathed a sigh of relief as she pulled into her driveway, but suddenly the strange car pulled into the driveway behind her and began blinking its lights on and off like a maniac. The police car screeched to a halt on the woman's front lawn, and two police officers jumped out with their guns drawn. They pulled the man out of the strange car and forced him to lie face down on the lawn. Then they handcuffed him as he screamed, "There's someone in her car! There's someone in her car!" The two policemen suddenly pointed their guns in the woman's direction and fired. The woman screamed, but when she turned around, she saw the bloody corpse of a murderer fall out of her back seat. There was a large butcher knife still clasped in his cold, dead hands. The police searched her back seat and found duct tape, a blindfold, and a pair of handcuffs lying there. The woman realized that the man in the strange car had been trying to save her. When the police released him, he explained that as he pulled up behind her car and his headlights lit up her back seat, he had seen a man with a butcher knife rising up behind her. Just as the madman was about to stab her, he flashed his high beams and the figure crouched back down. I flashed my high beams every time I saw him raise the knife. All right, guys, that's it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, don't forget to bookmark Beth.